Everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm really excited today to speak with Julia Balaz. I'm such a big fan of her work, and I think I've been following you for quite many years. And it was in the time when I was starting to discover this healing regression therapy that you've been into for many years. We can get into that. And I actually did one of those here in Sweden with a practitioner, and I really, really loved it. Tapping into past lives and also lives on other places than Earth and all of that. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Shereen. I'm really excited about connecting with you and your audience. I've listened to several of your podcasts and just love the vibe, the energy, your style of interviewing, and just how much you are doing for supporting the collective consciousness expansion. So really an honor to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And for me, it's a very special day today because I have my Healing Oracle card deck that is released today, published, and I'll probably draw a card for us in the end of this talk as well for the audience to have a message to go home with after this. And I'm really I know that you've been doing the work that you've done for a long time. And recently, because I also follow you, listen to your talks, I know that you've done a lot of episodes where you share your whole journey and all of that. And I would recommend for everyone to visit your YouTube channel to check that out. But maybe just a short introduction, and especially like coming up to what we're going to talk today about galactic astrology, how that merged for you.
Sure. And thank you for pointing that the longer versions of the story has been repeated a few times on my channel. But very briefly, I guess it got most interesting when I was facilitating quantum healing hypnosis regression sessions as a full-time practitioner. And because I was always interested in astrology since my early teens, I was asking every client for their birth details so that after my connection with them, their session, I usually spend 4 to 6 hours with a person, really going through their entire life story and then regressing through several different either past lives or ancestral or just kind of metaphoric stories, really getting to know their conscious and subconscious and their higher self too, when wonderful guidance was coming through these sessions. I then took time when they went home to look at their astrology and just look for different clues and validation, really just deepening my understanding of astrology and just the absolute awe and fascination I have for divine intelligence that moves us, that orchestrates everything. There definitely is order in this seeming chaos. And I just love, I live for the aha moments of like, oh my God, there it is. It's like a sign of something divine, and it's it feels more tangible. It feels like, oh my goodness, there is really something to this. So I over time, when you passionately study something, especially with involving your left brain and right brain hemisphere at the same time, when you collect a lot of data, in time you start seeing patterns that really clearly start speaking to you. So I feel very fortunate for the opportunity that I had in feeling into people's wholeness, as I said, their conscious and their subconscious and superconscious, and then their astrology, looking at the very comprehensive data in their astrological alignments, and then starting to see those patterns where certain things became obvious. And there was a point when I started paying more attention to the fixed stars and a kind of deep space astrology, and more attention to the galactic themes. There was quite a lot of information already about different galactic races, especially Pleiadians, Sirians, Arcturians. So those were the first ones, and the Orion, those were the first ones that I started noticing with my clients quite profoundly in many cases. And there really is a theme with each star system. It has its own frequency that then can somehow manifest in our own life experience through our personalities, through the situations that we are experiencing. So once my focus went into that direction, I just couldn't stop, and there was more and more coming through. So then I at some point started sharing the information with my clients, and their feedback was really surprisingly amazing, positive. Like, they deeply resonated with the information. They felt validated, they found some clarity, and I kept being asked by people to put the information together so that they can learn more about it. So a few years later, there are several courses now that I've created, and an amazing community of other people who are passionate about working with galactic astrology. So I feel very grateful for this amazing journey.
Wow, it's so great that you've practiced for so long, and through different initiations and readings and insights, something has been, I mean, you've tapped into something that still is quite new, but as we're evolving and our consciousness is evolving, and even our spiritual practices are like opening to other dimensions and frequencies, I think that's becoming stronger and stronger. And I know that for myself, because the downloads sometimes are very strong. And one point was when I like reconnected with your work, and I felt it resonates so much. So it's like, now maybe we're ready to look at it on that level, right?
Oh, 100%, definitely. And I want to pay respect to everyone else who has been on that similar journey, but just in the comfort of their own home, without connecting outward with others, comparing data. Because since I published the course, I have received so many emails of kind of passionate astrologers who are just in their own cocoon, not necessarily sharing themselves with the world, but they have been led to similar discoveries, and it just felt very validating for us as a whole, as a community, you know, when what we discovered individually has been happening throughout the world. So then just really realizing that there really is something to it. And I also want to say the fixed stars have been looked at by ancient astrologers, you know, for a long, long time, but somehow it became suppressed at some point. It wasn't as common in the last maybe 100 years or more. And although I had access to astrology books through the city library when I was a teenager, somehow it was like a blind spot for me, the fixed stars astrology. I didn't know it was a thing. So now when I'm learning, as I expand my awareness of the greater community of astrologers, I can see that it has been there. However, what I'm noticing is that because they were using the information, the interpretation of the fixed stars based on ancient text, a lot of it is often very doomy and gloomy, quite negative, and really based on the era of those ancient times, which we have evolved so much. And I believe the star systems themselves have evolved so much. The whole universe is constantly evolving because everything is interconnected. So I love that, you know, I was able to kind of explore and learn about different frequencies of the star systems through experience with clients, through journeying with them. And equally, I'm happy to hear about certain astrologers that are usually also have some shamanic background or regression hypnosis background, who are also rediscovering updated version of the meaning of stars through direct experience. So it's wonderful to see, and I'm really excited about how much data we will suddenly have available in a short amount of time. And I'm sure amazing books will be written, and amazing course will be written. So I don't feel like I'm the only one and very special. Like, there's a whole collective that is ready to work with this information and really feel connected to cosmos.
That's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And I think that like you say, we all are part of a collective consciousness, and then maybe we're working on the same stuff. You know how like probably we've tapped into this for a couple of years, and I feel like I think around 2000 and like, let's say 3 years ago, I started tapping into that consciousness, right? Something.
Yes, it became louder for many. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it became very clear. And then it's interesting what you say also, that it might not be new information, but it's something new for the current consciousness. Because if we look back, we see that, because I'm also, I'm a student of religion as well. So when I study the mythologies and the different, like, even shamanic traditions, like, if you look back, and just recently, I'm just now listening to a book about shamanism that is really beautiful, and where that, oh, I disappeared a little bit there. Yeah, where they're speaking about the origins of, like, any type of ceremony, ritual, all of that. It's so far back we can't even, because we have a timeline in our head that is 2000 years, and then maybe a little bit, but when we look back that far, actually they mentioned my ancestral lands in Kurdistan, where they found this, that's like the first sign of ceremonial shamanic tradition. And it's so ancient, and that's Mesopotamia. And then when you look at the mythology, there's a lot of emphasis on stars, right? And the star of Ishtar, and like that whole symbolism. So it's so ancient, and it's so, to me, so clear that these beings are connected to the star systems. So it's like that consciousness is opening up for us so much. So what I'm really excited about, that the work that you're doing, is to, of course, we're working as a collective, so our consciousness is collectively awakening to this, and then we're all doing different types of work to get it out there. It could be just a conversation with someone, and then you open up something. But what I love is that because thanks to you now, because I'm mostly working with that traditional astrology that is very connected to how our consciousness have been for the past maybe 2000 years. And when we look at this adds a different layer, just as the hypnosis that you worked with. It was such a different story. And through that hypnosis, it wasn't until I did it maybe 5-6 years ago, it wasn't until now I understood what some of the places that I visited, what they meant. Back then it felt like I didn't connect with the stories at all. So what I want, so I'm really into this, as you see, but I want to, maybe for people who don't know, what are we, if we take this traditional astrology that we otherwise work with, and that I talk about, and that we usually look into, if we take it to this level now of looking at these star systems, what are we doing, like, practically? Why would we look into this?
Yeah, so with the more basic or traditional astrology, we consider just the celestial objects in our own solar system. There are planets and so many other new bodies that are continuously being discovered. They all have certain frequency, and through their transits, their impact how we feel, what we think, what we create, how we interact with others. And we find that certain stars, most likely all of them, but there are some that have greater impact on our consciousness. I believe especially star systems that somehow are involved with human evolution since the ancient times, like the Orion stars have been imprinted into the blueprints of energetics of Earth through so many different civilizations when we look at the structure of architectural sites, right? So the Orion stars surely have energetic link that is much stronger than star systems that have no archaeological, like physical reality connection through mathematics and geometrics. So if we look at the Orion star and their energetic connection to us, and we look at how they figure in different astrological charts. They, when you look at data of hundreds upon hundreds of people who have Orion stars in their chart, you will notice that actually they have some commonalities in how they express themselves. So for example, since I'm talking about the Orion, and there are many nuances, by the way, depending on which planet is aligned to the Orion stars, in which aspect, and all that. But in generic terms, there is a commonality with the Orion star seeds, as I like to call them, or people who have stronger connection to the Orion, that they are able to navigate this polarized consciousness, duality, and not too afraid to look at their shadow side or acknowledge the shadow side, whereas maybe the Pleiadian star seeds feel much more comfortable with just the positivism and all the good things and always seeing the bright side of everything, almost ignoring the shadow, although they are aware of it, but they just focus on the best possible scenarios. Whereas Orion, they find it really important to find good balance, integrate both the shadow and light, and leverage both of it, kind of creating union. Another thing with Orion starseed, I find that they have really good sense of humor, and especially in really difficult situations. It feels that through their soul history or through their DNA memory of their ancestors, they've been through so much difficulty that the way for them to cope with all that is to bring humor into it. And they often will help others to be uplifted and to kind of cheer up, especially in the darkest moment, and then kind of get through it, or being very resourceful. So each star connection has these types of manifestation or very particular way how they show up in our life, as well through relationships or how we perceive the world. So it's really interesting to add another layer to astrology beyond the planets, beyond the archetypes of our solar system. There are just deeper meanings, deeper stories. What I'm seeing is when people start learning about these other typical manifestations, they're like, oh my God, now everything makes so much more sense. It's as if you bring additional puzzle pieces to your bigger picture and suddenly you see everything clearer and from a much higher perspective. And there is a sense of kind of peace, or through clarity, obviously, and encouragement to then leverage this information in some positive way. So
yeah, I love that. And it's kind of like expanding our awareness of our being as well to a different level. If we believe in some type of continuation of life and reincarnation and all of that, to expand that awareness to just expanding that this this universe is so vast that everything is connected. Like, why would we not be connected? We're so small. And then we can be so big and eternal as well in our collective consciousness and everything. These are just like wonderful tools to work with ourselves and our paths, and to also connect, since we can connect to different levels and dimensions in our spiritual practice, in our healing. And then that adds a different toolbox, because also we are here to practice different things and to experience like what our soul is supposed to do. And I think that this level can help us to also maybe connect to, the ancient, like indigenous people have always had connection to star beings and to the stars, and all these mythologies. It's so clear that we've once known something, and then now it's coming in on a different level and frequency, maybe not as they received it, but like we're evolving as well. So that's a really exciting thing. And on your website you have actually, this is like one of a kind, I think, this calculation. I've not seen it anywhere else. So one can put in their birth data just as for, and get like a chart, but with connected to this. Maybe you want to talk about that a little bit. And
Yes, so when I was facilitating these regression sessions and looking at my clients' charts, I was able to get their natal chart details through free astrology softwares. There are so many amazing websites that do that, that give you the position of the planets when you were born. But I had to manually calculate the position of the stars based on their birth year, like recalculate everything, each planet. It took me usually 3 hours to find out what stars were aligned to certain planets. Very time-consuming process and a lot of math, which I enjoy. I don't know why it did not occur to me to search for a calculator. I thought I'm onto something new. As I said, it was a blind spot for me that there was an existence of fixed stars books. But I prayed when I created the course. I first taught my students how to do this manually, and I warned them at even before they purchased the course that there is some calculations and it's a very time-consuming process. Like, have patience. But I prayed that there'll be someone who can help me create a software to do this automatically. And within 2 weeks after I published the course, there was actually a student who signed up, who is a software developer, and who reached out and he said, "This takes so long, I can create a software for this." So his name is Hector Manares, and he's been with us ever since, and we have a vision on what else can we do and build, and the possibilities of using software to create all kinds of reports and comparisons and synastries and things like that. So there is a website that we created called galacticastrochart.com, where people can enter their birth details and find out which most commonly known fixed stars are aligned to their natal chart. And what is unique about our software is that we don't only show the conjunct alignments, which there are some professional astrologer softwares which show that, conjunctions, like direct alignment, but we also show opposition, trines, sextiles, and squares. So it's just different mathematical or geometrical arrangement. And through us paying attention to these other aspects, we found that they too have a meaning and they manifest in a certain way. So there is a lot of depth that can be created by studying this and exploring these types of connections. So
yeah,
it's fun.
it is a lot of fun, and it takes also, for those listening that are really interested in already working with astrology, this is like a new layer. And I work a lot with Diana Wesley, and she works a lot with the goddesses and the what do asteroids. So that also makes it, and I would really love to explore in this case from my work the connections to maybe mythology and deities and goddesses. That would be really, really interesting to look into. And I will start. Maybe you've already done that. Actually, I would love to hear.
There are members in our community who are taking the practitioner course, who are paying attention to that. So it's another level of galactic astrology that will come through soon, I'm sure. Yeah.
Lovely. I love that. So I'm actually looking at my chart now. I just found it interesting, and I wrote to you before because from when I was born, it seems like I'm looking at a chart. Anyone who's listening to this, you should really try it. You see first on the first line the sun and which sign and degree it is and house, and then it says connection. And the first connection that I get to this is Lyra, and then it's a line and it says opposite Vega. So that is the connection, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the first columns are usually showing the conjunctions or opposition, the direct, they take priority. Then we show trines, then sextiles, then squares. So I'm not surprised at all hearing this, and especially if you're so consciously aware of your deep, deep ancestors and their rich culture and wisdom and tradition. Lyra Vega is one of the most ancient cultures or evolved beings that we know have influenced Earth for aeons. From the beginning of times, we could think of them as founders or really our ancestors. Lyra Vega, we are aware, and anyone who has connection to Lyra Vega that I know, either conjunct or opposition, especially, they are involved in teaching or being a connector for like creating a platform where people are discussing ancient wisdom, ancient mythology, healing arts, spiritual teachings. So I'm not surprised at all that you feel passionate about bringing this into collective consciousness and really educating others or helping them understand how much richness there is if they choose to expand their consciousness and evolve. So such a beautiful validation and your place.
Yeah, Lyra is beautiful. And is it connected actually, is it Lyra that's connected to felines as well?
Yes. There's a variety of different species and cultures, but the feline race is strongly connected or associated with Lyra.
Yeah, and I had dreams about felines since I was a child, like in herds. Yeah, so that makes, so okay, we can validate that. But what is the M57? Is that also a star system, or it's connected to Lyra then?
It's a Lyra nebula. So if we see that, usually really that indicates soul records, soul memories leading all the way to ancient Lyra, to really the leaders, the founders race. And that person, usually in those soul records, or if they regress, they would see the connection to the ancient Mesopotamia and the mass exodus stories and the Abrahamic race and all that. It's usually there with this nebula.
So that's also there. And this is actually a new one for me, because I know about some of the systems, but Centaurus is actually opposite my moon in Taurus.
And is it Alpha Centauri or Beta Hadar?
Beta Centauri Hadar.
Okay, with the moon. So when I see that with people, usually they have a theme of intense relationships, especially up to their 40 years old or so. They expect unconditional love because they embody unconditional love frequency, and they get hurt a lot because they look for that unconditional love, not realizing that it's at the center of their being. So there's that neediness, I suppose, or high expectation in relationships that is never met until they find the source of love inside them, and then the point of attraction in the relationships changes completely, and they start cultivating beautiful, harmonious, balanced relationships. So very strong theme with that.
Interesting. So they have themes that are also connected to our more physical, like, connected to our daily lives.
Yes.
Kind of like okay.
Very much so. Yeah.
And the last one is, I'm thinking about the AC. My AC is conjunct Hydra Alphard.
I'm not surprised at all. Okay, so ascendant, so the Hydra Alphard, the alpha stars of Hydra constellation was rising when you were born. And again, how that manifests through life, you're such a beautiful validation of that. Especially with women, you can see how they carry that ancient, deep, profound feminine wisdom, and also carrying the stories also through their ancestral lineage of very strong women that had to face adversity, but they were strong and would hold, or in some lifetimes, perhaps they were prosecuted and they gave their life for standing in integrity and truth. They were not manipulated. So very strong feminine connection and feeling, rising, like their role in this life seems to be to break free, to not be unapologetically strong female leader in an integrated, harmonious way, So you seem to be doing that just wonderfully.
Thank you. And that's super accurate, and I really recommend everyone to look into their chart. And I know that you and your those that you are training now are also doing like full readings for people.
Yes.
And that's really exciting too.
Yeah, because it's a lot of info, like it's huge amount of information to into all of it, and not everyone has time to do this. It's a journey that takes many months, even years, to learn how to decode all the data that's in your chart. So I feel so grateful that we have growing number of dedicated practitioners who live and breathe this information really passionately, engaging their left brain and also their intuition, tuning into soul records, tuning into these deep ancient stories of our ancestors on Earth and beyond. So people can have access to that through the website galacticastrology.com.
I love that. Do you think that this type of, that what we're tapping into is also part of a collective healing and shifting and, you know, the paradigm shifts that we're going through right now?
Yes, what I'm observing is that there were many stories connected to extraterrestrial beings that were very polarized. They were talking a lot about, service to self, collectives, and all kinds of wars and things like that. But what I'm noticing lately, especially since last year, is that people, at least within my proximity, the community that is forming, is that we all feel guided to stop dividing and polarizing and thinking which race is better, which race is worse, and all that, and really instead learning from what was experienced by them, taking it to the next level, kind of integrating all those stories as fragments of something that is whole and complete, and just finding somehow a way to have more neutral perspective that is empowering, and not a kind of ego boosting, but really more from a humble and deeply responsible place. And also not to what's the word, like think of these extraterrestrial beings or our star alignments as something godly, but realizing that we are here for a reason, and it's as important to be Earth human right now, that is kind of connecting to the universe in this profound way. I feel with the evolving consciousness that we're experiencing now, to me, evolution is all about greater connectivity and greater harmony. And I feel as we are consciously tapping into these far distant places, we are helping to heal whatever past stories they had of polarity and conflict and wars. As we are bringing it into our experience, into our physical understanding, we help somehow heal it. Because a lot of times people feel deep emotions when they connect to certain soul records, and there is energy discharge in their physical body, whether through goosebumps or crying or purging or whatnot, when you go to the extremes. But this way we are helping to clear the records and make it lighter, and somehow heal the universe, and evolve towards perhaps more peaceful and harmonious collaboration between various civilizations.
Yeah, that's super important. And I'm thinking of one thing, because I work a lot with ceremony and ritual, and we look at the different points of the year, and we're looking at the moon phases and eclipses. There's two questions. How could we tap into, since these are very like fixed, and then but we have the sun and moon are moving all the time, and there's different things happening. And also that leads me to a question: is there something specific happening now, this month, upcoming months, that you feel is important to share?
Such a great point. So we're talking here about transits and how powerful they are. One of the most amazing moments I had in the earlier years when I was kind of discovering all this was noticing that regression hypnosis clients who were able to tap to amazing, highly intelligent level of consciousness inside their own being, as they were really channeling this profound information about whether their history or the world, they there on that day there was a very strong alignment in this particular story to Sirius star, the sun, or one of the, it was either Sun or Mercury that was conjunct Sirius star, and then that person also in their natal chart had a strong connection to Sirius A. So and then learning through many stories of other people, usually you can have a spontaneous recollection of certain star system or star race, history of certain extraterrestrial beings during a powerful alignment, like during the full moon, new moon, eclipses, equinoxes. There are certain configurations when, like, the universe is playing certain harmonics, and when they are in harmony with your own natal chart, you can have a spontaneous recall of something really powerful, which elevates you to the higher vibration of your embodiment, of your expression. So I want to say, for people who are maybe yearning to connect with certain star system, but maybe don't necessarily see it in their own chart, they can always pay attention to the movement of the moon, of the sun, because once a year they will hit that astrological degree of the alignment through direct conjunction, and then several times a year if you look at the other aspects. So absolutely you can work with the transits. So it's nice to use our website. There's an additional feature there. Instead of clicking on the free chart for your own astrological data, you can enter today's date and see what stars are aligned to the planets today. And then you can maybe meditate on whichever star you feel drawn to. Or you can click on Astro Degrees tab on the website and get a list of fixed stars alignments this year or in any other year, and just to then pay attention when are the planets moving through that particular degree, and then you can meditate on connecting with Arcturus or Sirius or whatever you're drawn to. So you can work with it this way. The second part of your question was, currently, is there anything important? So I shared in my recent interviews that the last two interviews with known astrologers on my YouTube channel, that our collective south and north nodes, our collective kind of evolutionary path degree is very strongly aligned to what we call or know as Shapley or Shapley attractor or supercluster. It's known as one of the most significant magnetic force that is moving us through space at the speed of 600 kilometers per second, and a little bit longer. So it's at early degrees of Scorpio, the position of Shapley, if we look at the tropical zodiac. And what we are finding, what it does or how it manifests with people who have this particular alignment in their chart, and right now collectively how it's influencing us, that we are wanting to know everything about that's behind the scenes, what's hidden, what is really the truth of everything that is happening. We are no longer just oblivious and accepting things for granted as they're given to us, but we take time to look deeper, to really look at everyone's motivations and true intentions. We really want to know the truth. And those that want to hide it consciously or unconsciously, these evolutionary forces and the alignment is not supporting that. There will be other external circumstances that will happen that will reveal the truth one way or another. So whatever is under the carpet or in the closet, it's coming out. So it's just, I think it's such an important part of our evolution right now to come clear with all the cards, because as things are revealed, then they can be finally healed, and then we can move on with a clean slate. So it's really exciting to see that, and we can see it if anyone watches the shenanigans in the world's politics and all the big influencers. There's so much stuff is coming out to surface, like, my goodness. And if you look at their charts, of course, they have those this like Shapley attractor or other major points in their astrology. So it's like obvious that they're going to be coming to justice, so it's really exciting.
I mean, that's exactly what's happening, and we can feel it. And there's so much, like, I would say on like both worldly level, on spiritual, there's so much being revealed. And I love what you said also. I feel like even if you sometimes you have this, if you're starting to tap in and you're really working to not only be in your mind and to worry about the everyday stuff and trying to plan out and be in a meditative state, you can almost feel when shifts are happening, and it is like profound downloads, and you feel that shift, and we're all affected, even if we are not aware of it or we don't think about it. But I really love also a really great feature for on the website that you can go in and look and see what's happening. If you can look at your own chart also and see where that's it, or when things are happening and intensifying, you can check that out, because then there's always like this communion with everything around us, how we can commune with nature, with the stars, the planets. So there's always like some support or healing to be found. And I really love that this is also very tangible, and people can really see how it's kind of practical in one way, but also very high level on a spiritual level as well.
You bring such a beautiful point, and something that I've learned or was shown over and over through the experience with my regression hypnosis clients, that for people who are maybe more intuitive and creative, who don't feel excited about studying astrology and collecting a huge amount of data in order to be consciously aware of what's happening, don't worry about it at all. If it's not exciting you, just don't go there, because your heart, your intuition, your whole soul is perfectly wired and tapped into what's going on in the cosmos, and you will navigate things as long as you follow your joy, follow your intuition. You will reach your highest potential. I mean, all those clients that came to see me, most of them, like 99%, had no clue about astrology, yet they were navigating their life in perfect alignment with what was in their astrological chart. So you can do it unconsciously and joyfully, just following your intuition, trusting that it knows the way, it is connected, it will lead you perfectly well. And or if kind of looking behind creator's curtain to cheer on everything that's happening consciously, if it excites you to study galactic astrology, then you're up for a treat. Like, there's just so much there, and the aha moments are so delicious.
Amazing. I would really recommend everyone to do that. And I'm so like grateful that you came on and shared your work and gave so many beautiful insights and giving me insights. I'm really looking forward to studying it more. Maybe one day you will write about this and share your wisdom with all of us. I'm really looking forward to that too. And before we end, and I want you to also share all your offerings. I've been shuffling the card deck, and speaking about healing and collective healing, I love to draw cards for groups, and right now for the audience listening, and especially on this day when these cards are born. And of course,
exciting, and congratulations, they look amazing, they look fabulous, really well done. It feels so good to have them out.
Thank you so much. I'm really grateful and excited. And this is the back of the card, and I was feeling that we will draw. So the cards in my deck progress from the physical body up until the spiritual and the eternal body. So we got actually a message that is from the spiritual, because we're talking about very high level things, and I completely surrender to my path. And this is almost because there's 50 cards, and this is like the progression. There's a lot of this card in particular is very, actually, if you see the crystals, they're very cosmic. If you
there's so much information in that. Oh my goodness, it works on so many levels. such a deep quantum delivery just through one picture and one sentence. I love it. Can't wait to work with them.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really excited. And I mean, Lori Menna, who's created the actual art together, like we co-created this, she's really tapped into other realms and the
that's channeling right there, channeled art.
Yeah, definitely. And the crystals and the nature and the animals. And I'm really feeling like how, like one thing that I have seen is how I feel definitely animals are so connected to the galaxies and the stars, and they're kind of like these messengers somehow, because it's always connected to, you know, prophetic things like ascended masters, and they're really here to also give us beautiful messages. So
would you like to give a go of translating that card into today's audience, or can I give it a go?
yeah, please do, please.
So if you want to maybe bring the card up, because instantly so many things came up. So first of all, the two bears holding the representation of the polarity, but we see this visual of it kind of connecting, working together. There's a solid, strong energy of security, strength, and bear, to me, I would connect this to Polaris, the North Star. So I completely surrender to my path, and the Polarian alignments, usually people have that connection, or when the star comes through, it helps us point us to the true north, where we, you know, the destined path that is helping us reach our highest potential, highest possible embodiment, with the and the meaning of I completely surrender to my path. I feel more and more people are realizing that, okay, there is order in this seeming chaos. There is divine orchestration. There are synchronicities that are guiding me on my path. And we are learning, we have learned that, you know, no matter how much we want to try and invent the best possible paths to us, like our brain or our mind, our ego can only go so far with creating a good life for us. But if we surrender to the spirit, to the soul, to the divine, like we see those beautiful angel wings there, the path is going to be so much more amazing. And if we can trust that and surrender it to it, oh my God, then we play with life, and we are supported and guided through synchronicities, through magic, into a really beautiful place. And of course, the sun there, the nature behind it, the connection to heavenly realms, really seeing into the frequency that is supporting us energetically with energy, with love, with passion, with excitement, with this good mood, high vibe, like such a good omen for the path ahead. I love this card.
I mean, your interpretation was so beautiful. Like, just that's what I always say. The art itself can say so much. The symbols, the geometry, we wanted to work with sacred geometry. And then these crystals, I know I have one that they kind of look metallic, like the purite, I think. I feel it's really connected to some other place than Earth, because it's so magical. And yeah, thank you so much for that beautiful channeling. I mean, oracle cards, that's what it's all about. I feel like that's definitely a strong message for everything that we spoke about. And I'm so excited. Like, I'm really excited to see everything else that you're gonna do and how this will evolve. And I'm really just curious, so if someone is listening and really something opens up for them, how can they work with what you're doing right now?
Sure. Well, just before I go any further, one more keyword that's coming with that card is partnership. That rather than doing it alone, we do it in partnership, whether with someone in the physical world or in partnership with our higher self and with the spirit realm. I thought it was so important. So
Thank you.
for anyone who will get excited about tuning into my world, they can go to galacticastrology.com. There are 4 different courses that I offer. One is to help people work with their intuition and recognize the difference between the mind, chatter, ego thoughts versus higher self or the soul guidance. And there are many different practical exercises, easy to follow course, very affordable. Then there is very basic astrology course called Life Purpose Astrology, just focusing on those elements of astrology that reveal to you what it will bring you greatest prosperity, sense of alignment, happiness. And then there is the Galactic Astrology 101 for complete beginners, helping you to understand your chart for yourself or maybe for immediate family and friends. And then there is a practitioner course, which takes at least 2 months if you have some understanding of astrology or star seeds information. And if a complete newbie, when you take that course, it usually takes up to a year for people before they feel ready to offer this as a service to others professionally. And it is very, very comprehensive. So apart from that, if you just want to go for the free ride, there is a ton of videos and information on my YouTube and social media, so you can explore that and or connect with any of the practitioners that are now certified. We have over 40 and I think 15 languages or so that are available for galactic astrology, soul reading, interpretation. We interviewed each of them on my channel, so you can learn about their stories and see how you resonate with their energy. And yeah, lots more is coming. So
I'm so sure. Wow, that's amazing. I will link to everything in the show notes here. And if someone wants to connect with you on Instagram, it's Galactic Astrology, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, check Julia out because it's great information and you're giving so generously of your wisdom, and I really feel it's super unique. And I mean, we're all in this together, and I love that you're bringing this forward and like really making it your focus after. So I'm really happy that we connected many, many years ago to lead up to this point. So we've been walking like side by side, and then now something is happening over here and we're in different places. We have beautiful connections in our personal life as well. So I'm really excited to speak to you soon, and thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge and wisdom with us.
Thank you, Shereen. This is highly enjoyable, and congratulations once again on your milestone with this beautiful Oracle deck cards. Can't wait to get my hands on them and share them with the world as well. Really well done too.
I'm super grateful. Thank you so much, Julia.
Much love, everyone.